This VAWatchdog.org news video is brought to you by Bergman & Moore, LLC. Former VA attorneys now fighting VA for you. Call Bergman & Moore at 877-838-2889 or on the web at vetlawyers.com.
For every U.S. soldier killed in action, many more are wounded, a total of nearly 30,000 in Iraq alone. The military doctors who treat them are learning things every day that benefit all Americans. We have more now from Kimberly Dozier, who herself survived serious wounds in Iraq.
Army surgeons applying lessons learned on the battlefield, saving lives back home.
BP 150 over 80.
This woman hit a parked truck head on. She's fighting for life.
Make a hole, make a hole, make a hole.
So the patient has a shattered face, shattered ribs, hips, and 2 femurs. They have to keep her stable and get her into surgery.
Doctors are fighting for her, using new techniques perfected on the battlefield in Iraq and Afghanistan. Everything from the new clotting bandages made of high-tech fibers and chemicals which seal the wound to stop severe bleeding, to sophisticated tourniquets, which are sometimes kept on during surgery, a turnaround on the old wisdom that tourniquets kill limbs. Tourniquets have become a frontline weapon to fight the massive bleeding from limbs blasted by roadside bombs. On the battlefield, no expense is spared to save lives, like the use of this innovative pilot robot program, which allows military doctors based in Iraq to consult face-to-face with doctors and patients thousands of miles away. Dr. Chung spoke to us from Baghdad.
So you can consult on any patient anywhere.
Anywhere, right. I could see what I want to see through this technology. Look at the patient, the monitoring screen.
These battle-driven advances cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Back home, trauma gets only a fraction of the research funds spent on things like cancer and AIDS, though it's the leading cause of death for Americans aged 20 to 50. But some of the techniques these military doctors developed are drawing fire. There are charges, refuted by Brooke Army medical researchers, that Army surgeons used injured troops and Iraqis as guinea pigs, like using clotting agent factor 7 to stop bleeding. It's only FDA approved for hemophiliacs, but combat doctors have added it to their surgical arsenal to stop hemorrhaging in patients who are about to die.
You have people coming in who have suffered massive wounds, who have bleeding at 3 to 4 times the rate that we see in the United States, and you have a drug that's shown to be safe and might help.
Some injured troops given factor 7 have later died from blood clots, so there have been calls for FDA oversight. Holcomb says that could take a decade, whereas the drug manufacturer's tests showed promise. Civilian surgeons here have followed suit. Up to 20% of trauma centers in this country are taking the same gamble with factor 7, risking long-term complications to keep the patient alive.
If we're going to make a dent in that death rate of potentially preventable deaths, then we need to focus efforts on stopping bleeding.
In Texas, I met doctors who worked on me after my team was hit by a car bomb in Iraq almost 2 years ago. They used 3 doses of factor 7 to keep me alive. Kelly?
Kimberly, this is also incredible to hear. I understand also, though, you are working on a book that's coming out next week about your whole experience. Tell us about that.
It's called Breathing the Fire. It's a moment-by-moment account of the bombing and the very long recovery, a story troops and their families know all too well.
And a story a lot of people are certainly going to want to read. Kimberly Dozier, thanks so much, reporting from Washington tonight.
VAWatchdog.org, the nation's #1 independent veterans website. On the web at VAWatchdog.org.